What's up guys, this is Butcher. In this episode I'm going to talk about why you should pick first or shouldn't really wait until the last second in pubs or in ranked to pick your hero, right? First of all, the biggest reason for me is if you are a mid hero, a mid player, right? So you would prefer to go mid. So what you do, um, as soon as the people load in, you put your icon there, and then you could say mid please or whatever. And there are a lot of players that do the same thing. So you kind of have to compete for that icon, or you kind of sometimes it goes shady with that, and people just pick mid or whatever, and you're fucked. So if you pick first, though, if you put your icon mid and you pick first, 90% of the games you're gonna go mid. Actually, 99% of the games you're gonna go mid. Like if you put your icon and you pick first. If you put your icon mid and just hover the icon and wait to pick last second, there's gonna be 20% of the game some idiot is gonna pick a mid hero, put his icon mid and call mid, right? And then he's gonna call you an asshole if you pick a mid hero after he picked because he just wants to go mid, right? Or yeah, that happens sometimes. So just to make sure that you go mid, if you want to play a certain hero and you want to go mid, like I prefer going mid. Games where I don't go mid, shit is awful. Like because I mostly play mid, so I play mid like 90% of the games, seriously. So I try to pick first, and I just get good at playing mid, and I feel like mid is the least dependent role. So if you play a carry, you're kind of dependent on supports to do well in your lane. If you play a support, you're kind of dependent on your carry to do well. You're dependent on your mid hero to do well. If your mid hero sucks, you fucking lost. If your carry sucks, you fucking lost. Off lane and mid are the only two roles that I really like because they're not dependent, or they're not as dependent on other players on your team, right? It's still a Dota game. It's still 5v5. It's still huge. Teamwork is huge. Like, it defeats almost anything, right? But you're more independent in those roles. So might as well just pick first and get it over with, and then nobody's gonna fuck your lane up, or nobody's gonna contest your lane or whatever. The same thing if you want to play carry, pick carry first. If you want to play support, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's gonna compete to play supports. Who are we kidding? Okay, your team will also pick around your hero if you pick first. Okay, so if you think about it like this, somebody has to pick first. There's five heroes on your 5 players on your team. Somebody has to pick first. So preferably you want to have support picks first, mid kind of last, I guess, most of the time. But if you pick a mid hero first, that's not like super easily counterable. Like, don't pick. I mean, okay, if you want to win, don't pick heroes like Meepo first. Don't pick heroes like, I want to say maybe Storm, maybe Tinker. Don't pick someone like Medusa first, TA first, Broodmother first. Heroes like that are very pickpocket strategy kind of, you know. But if you do pick first, so for example you pick PUDGE first, your team will know that you're going aggressive, right? So they're gonna pick ganking heroes, and there's actually more chances that your team is gonna pick support heroes, because if you pick a carry first, then they're gonna be like, yeah, fuck, like whatever, man. Like late game, people get discouraged. If you pick early game, people actually don't get too discouraged, and they're like, oh, okay, this is cool. They're gonna like rotate around the map, and they're kind of more enthusiastic about ganking, right? So they pick supports because they know they're gonna get kills if they rotate, because you're gonna do good early game. But if you pick like Medusa and PA first, then your team is gonna start flaming everybody and be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they don't even want to play supports because if they're not gonna get any kills, the game's gonna be boring as fuck. Everybody's gonna farm. So if you pick a hero that's good early game first, then people are gonna be kind of more encouraged to play the game, right? Most of the time. I'm speaking like odds, you know. There's always gonna be people that pick some stupid shit. There's always gonna be people that pick whatever. But most of the time, it's gonna help your team. So if you pick a good hero first, or any hero first that's aggressive, then people are gonna be like, okay, this is cool. Or they're gonna just flame you because you pick PUDGE and they think you're gonna suck. Either one. Try not. Just kidding, man. Okay, try not to pick easily countable heroes. Right? That's I've been okay. Yeah, I've been over that. I mean, and the thing that people don't understand is there are plenty of heroes that are not counterable. Like, that really don't care who they go up against. I mean, okay, unless you pick 5 invis heroes, that sucks, right? That's easily counterable. But I mean, if you pick heroes like Shadow Fiend, doesn't really care who he goes up against most of the time. Like, kinda, you know? Anti-Mage, um, Storm Spirit, most supports don't really care who you go up against. And then there's like Clockwork, um, Earthshaker, I mean Tidehunter, Magnus, they're always good. Like Void, they're kind of always good. Like they're not like completely like counterable, you know? Unless you pick like Greedy. Most of the time what happens that people do counter against is just greedy picks. So if you pick like a Doombringer or other farming heroes, then people are going to be like they're just going to destroy you early game as a team. It's not going to be just one hero got countered. It's just that your team got countered. So you need to have like 3 farming heroes, and you need to have 2 heroes that do not want to farm or do not care about farming. Like that's the biggest thing actually. Like when I look at games and I see my picks and we have like kind of decent picks, but we all need farm, right? So heroes that don't need farm are like Clockwork, Lion, Witch Doctor, whatever, Leshrac, Darkseer. And heroes that do need farm are heroes like Weaver, Void, Razor, Ember Spirit. Well, Ember Spirit's kind of okay. But like PL or Morphling or Anti-Mage, and even some supports need a lot of farm to be effective. Like, or need a lot of levels to be effective. Like Warlock or heroes that I don't know, want to get their 11 as soon as possible, like Ancient Apparition. Like, he needs farm. He's not just a complete support that just doesn't give a fuck about anything, eh? So if you have 5 heroes that are dependent on farm, like Nature's Prophet, shit like that, you're probably like, it's not a good idea, man. Like, you're probably not in a good position to do anything. That's why there are supports in the game, so you need to have at least, I would prefer to have 2 heroes that don't give a fuck about farm. So you don't have 5 heroes on your team competing for last hits or competing for farm across the map. And I mean, some heroes, you need to have like a flash farming heroes. Flash farming heroes are also very good, like SF, Tinker, I don't know. Fast farming heroes are just very good in general. Like, I would prefer fast farming heroes to slow farming heroes, like Slardar, Lifestealer, Night Stalker, CK. Okay, yeah, like okay, CK and Nyx. Well, the reason why they're not popular right now, or they're kind of shitty picks, is because they need farm, but they're very slow at farming. They can't flash farm. They don't have any AoE. So Lifestealer might hurt whatever, like when he does have items, but it takes him forever to get items. Compared to heroes like Anti-Mage or Luna that flash farm the entire map, or Tinker, so they just farm really fast and they get their items so much faster, so then they're at an advantage. And I want to talk about a little bit about ranked versus unranked. I'm mostly talking about unranked. Like, if you play only unranked, then don't bother counterpicking your opponent most of the time. Unless you really want to win. Like, focus on your own gameplay, focus on the hero that you want to play, and practice a hero, right, that you like, or practice a couple of heroes that you like, rather than always being dependent on counterpicking your opponent. I mean, unless that's your thing, you know? Like, if you enjoy the whole counterpicking thing, like, if you enjoy Captain's Mode, then yeah. Like, if you enjoy Captain's Mode, then yeah, you can counterpick in PUBS or whatever, that's cool. But if you really want to win, but you really want to play a certain hero, I would always just play that hero and yeah, whatever. Like, shit happens. You know, whatever happens, you're gonna get better at the hero. And that's another thing. If you pick first any hero, for example, pick any hero. It doesn't fucking matter what hero it is, right? Pick that hero 100 times in a row in PUBS first. Like, as soon as the game starts, just pick that hero. You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna get destroyed. But you know what then is gonna happen? You're gonna get better at the hero. You're gonna be like, you're gonna get as good as that hero as you can, basically, and you're gonna improve the fastest because You're gonna learn the fastest. You're gonna be like, okay, this item build is bad. I need to do that. I need to do this. I can't do that. Da, da, da. You're gonna learn very fast, and you're gonna have the hardest situation possible because people are gonna whatever counterpick you, I guess, and you're gonna have a tough matchup. So like you're gonna get used to that tough matchup. Like you're gonna get used to people like hard heroes playing against you. So for example, I pick PUDGE first all the time. People usually pick tanks. So I'm used to playing against tanks like I expected. And then in a game where people don't counterpick me or pick squishy heroes or pick kind of shitty heroes, that game is super, 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 super easy because I'm used to playing against tanks. I'm used to playing against harder heroes, right? And that's the kind of mentality that you want to have. You want to improve. You don't want to just also, when you counterpick, you kind of stay in the same place most of the time, like ability-wise, skill-wise in your gameplay. For example, you play mid and you always counterpick. You're always going to have an easier matchup, so you're not going to learn as much. You might win more, but might not learn as much, basically. And also, a cool strategy that I like to do is confuse your opponent with picks. So, for example, I do this sometimes in ranked. So for example, like I'm playing against 6K players, and I know that the game is going to be hard as fuck. Like this game is going to be like super super hard, right? So I put icon PUDGE for offlane, and I pick PUDGE first, and the opponent thinks, oh whatever, like he's going to go mid. So they counterpick me mid, and then my own team counterpicks their mid, right? So for example, I pick PUDGE, they pick Storm Spirit, and my teammate picks Lina, and then Lina wrecks Storm mid, and we win the game. And I can always PUDGE offlane. And that's the kind of thing that you can do. You kind of like just because a certain hero is assigned to a certain role doesn't like to a certain lane doesn't mean that you need to go that lane all the time. There are plenty of mid heroes that can offlane very 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 easily. Like Windrunner can go offlane or mid, totally fine. Tinker can go offlane or mid. Well, offlane is kind of okay. Storm Spirit can go offlane, like it's totally fine. Ember can go offlane. Clock can either go offlane or mid. Like those kind of heroes, you can interchange them, and don't get too hung up on this hero needs to go a certain lane. Also, there are plenty of aggressive laning heroes that can carry. So you could play like Windrunner, go safe lane. You're gonna destroy your lane. You're gonna get a ton of farm, and you're gonna scale pretty well into late game. Same thing with Ember Spirit. You're going to win your lane. You're going to scale pretty well. You're going to dominate your opponent. You're going to snowball. Compared to having like a Spectre or Anti-Mage in your lane, you know you're not going to do too well in your lane. Like you're not going to get too many kills. You're going to be pretty passive. The game is going to drag out. You're not going to snowball. But if you pick a good like laning hero and you outplay your opponent, you have so much more opportunity to just get ahead so much faster in the game, right? So just keep that in mind, and I know this is a pretty long video and I'm kind of ranting about it, but I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, guys.